Hello, sweet patrons. In this video, you will see the painting process for the Curious Cuppa illustration. The inspiration for this piece is probably quite obviously the art of tasseography. Before I lay any paint down, I like to erase my pencil lines. Then I start blocking in the shadows and reserve blank spaces for the highlights. Erasing the pencil before I start painting ensures that the graphite isn't set in with water. That would create a harsh line that would be hard to remove later. First washes are always very loose. It's just so I can place some color, get my bearings so I know what I'm working with. Decided to use ultramarine for the base of the shadows rather than a cool gray like I normally would for porcelain. But I decided to do something a little bit more interesting by using blues and teals and purples for a bit of a pearlescent effect. The blues I'm using are Ultramarine by Winsor & Newton and Phthalo Blue from Sennelier. I'm also mixing that Phthalo Blue with Opera Rose from Sennelier to make that violet color. So now just erasing more pencil lines and starting to block in the color around the rim of the cup. With gold tones, I like to mix a nice olive hue for saturated areas. I'll usually use a yellow-green with burnt sienna, as well as a deeper blue-green for the olive. Using a yellow with either warm or cool undertones works well too. I'll also use rusty tones for shading. I use from the warm side of yellow to green, as well as everything that happens in the middle. Which sounds strange, but if you look at gold, you'll find warm and also cool and neutral tones within it. So it's yellow, it's green, it's orange. I don't know, that's just my interpretation of it. So for this painting, it's really just a simplified version. If I spent more time painting gold, it would be much more detailed than this painting ended up being, but I'm really happy with how it turned out, and yeah, so we're just putting on the first wash for the gold. We'll end up adding more layers to it later. here we go with that violet. I mixed phthalo blue and opera rose by Sennelier for this. I'm just going in, adding a bit of light shadowing just to add some dimension to the cup. It's only the first layer, and I'll go in later and add some more dimension. This is really just to outline where my shadows need to be and to render the shape of the cup. And it looks like I'm coming in with the ultramarine, which is in a palette off screen, but you can see bits of blue filling in there. The ultramarine is Winsor Newton. It's really nice. More opaque pigment. That's why I like both brands. They're really versatile, and you get different effects with both. Winsor Newton pigments tend to be more, I think there's more sediment in them or something, I don't know. But Sennelier is a lot more translucent and you can do more glazing. And they're very saturated, so it depends on what you're going for. I love them both. I use both in all my work. So yeah, I love those paints. Still just filling in bits of shadowing. And I think I'll speed this part up a bit. Here you can see me mixing that violet like I explained earlier with the phthalo blue and the opera rose. Just getting a balance that I'm happy with. A little bit more blue in there. Oh, I also added Sennelier red. That's what they're calling it. Yeah, it makes like a dusty violet color. I had to dilute it quite a bit. It's kind of concentrated when I first put it on, but I just add a bit of water and yeah, it blends in. The inside of the teacup is where you see the most variance in color on this piece. Here I'm adding some blue. I wanted to avoid mixing my colors too much because they can get muddy. So I kind of just put them in their own little sections where the shadows would be. There I just added some of the violet to the blue, but I tried not to blend too much because I didn't want the paint to turn gray. Now just getting some more saturation in areas and placing the finishing touches before I move on to the next section. So here I've started mixing paint for my tea leaves in the bottom of the cup. For browns like this, I like to use burnt umber. To darken them, I'll add a little bit of ivory black and dilute with water if I need some translucency. You can see I'm going in and detailing each little leaf. The details are seriously my favorite part of any painting. I could get completely lost in them. The brushes you use are really important. It's good to find a small brush when you're working on such fine lines like this, and good quality brushes too. You know, you can use craft brushes for the larger things, but with your details you want to use the more expensive brushes because it's definitely worth it when you don't have any splintering bristles. Just find I have more control over what I'm doing, and the brushes tend to last longer too. Oh, here I am mixing some more, getting ready to mix some more olive green. I wanted to give the tea leaves a greener hue, so I mixed some more green, which I'll use for gold later too. But just like I explained earlier, taking burnt sienna and I'm using that phthalo green. It's a light phthalo green there. And then forest green. You can see it's darker. And that just brings it into this really nice deep green. But the burnt sienna warms it up some. And I don't know, it's just my favorite olive. I use it for lots of greens, like anytime I paint foliage, this color is definitely in there. So I thought it fitting for tea leaves as well. And I'm just placing it in there in different sections, mixing in more brown, just to get a nice combination of the two. Pretty soon I'll zoom in so you can see the whole painting better. That'll come up. And just getting the finishing touches on the tea leaves. It's not complete without some awkward hand movements. Here I'm mixing some browns for the leftover tea at the bottom of the cup. Here we are, and we can finally see what's going on. I'm just adding the leaf motif on the cup. That's gonna be gold as well, so I'm just laying down the base layers in the goldish tones. This is one of my favorite parts because, like I was saying earlier, the details just get me. Love them. I'm using one of my favorite Princeton brushes. It's a really fine liner. It's perfect for dainty lines like this. I actually have more than one of them, and I use them all of the time. It's definitely, without a doubt, one of my favorite brushes. Here you can see it creeping in. I leaned in too closely and the camera started focusing on my wiry hairs. instead of the painting, unfortunately, so I had to kind of zip past that part where it was out of focus. So we're back. And in a little bit, I actually have to go past some more because I got a little carried away and started painting out of the frame. But I'll let you know when that's coming. Ugh, so sorry. Oh, I brought in my sketch I transferred onto tracing paper for reference because it was really difficult to see the lines I was supposed to be following. So having that sketch there just helped give me some guidance for the little decoration there. There I go, getting dangerously close again. You might have noticed that the foliage is the little decoration that I doodle all the time. Or maybe you didn't, I don't know. But, yep, you'll see it all over everything. Packaging and anything I can get my hands on. These leaves are on it. As promised, I wanted to let you know that I can't be trusted to paint in the frame. And that little twist I did was just the beginning of the end for this section of the video. There's a little bit more time left on this close-up, but pretty soon we're gonna get whiplash with this transition. And then somehow magically it's done, and you didn't get to see it. And I'm sorry, but there it is. So yep, I finished that. If only painting could get done that quickly. Let's see, what am I doing? Oh, I'm working on the golden parts now. Well, the other golden parts. So I'm adding in the more rusty tones now for some shading, just to get some shadows blocked in. You can actually already see how the contrast between the yellow base and the rust adds quite a bit of dimension. Dropping in some olive now for the deepest part of my shadow, and blending that in so I don't have any harsh lines. Just getting that saturated so that I've got quite a deep out of frame. You want some deep shadowing. With metallics, it's nice to have stark contrast between your highlights and your shadows. I'm definitely not an expert, and I need lots of practice painting metallics, but I have found that, having stark highlights and shadows for metallics kind of tricks your eye into thinking you're looking at something shiny. So that's what works for me. On a simple painting like this, just keeping it very minimalistic. But it does get the effect across, I think. So I'm just going around the rim of the cup and putting in more olive, and I'll put in some more rust in a little bit where I need some gradiency. But it's on its way. I just wanted to speed through this part a little bit. You can still see what's going on, but it was a little bit slow. So you can see I'm putting in the rust, blending it into where the olive is darkest. And just getting everything nice and blended. Adding some more water to get things fluidly combined there. I really do apologize for not centering properly. But hopefully you can get a pretty good idea of what's going on, even though I'm kind of all over the place. Now I'm adding more olive to darken the shadowed areas. I'll lift some of the paint on the areas that need to be highlighted, just to add some extra depth Um, it's the little things that really make a big difference, even though they're minuscule details. Mopping on some water with a filbert there, and then just dabbing that off with a paper towel. It gives a nice shiny teacup-like look. Then I'm just going to refine anything that I see is a little off, like some coloring that needs correcting. See some shading needs to be done there. Honestly, the rim of the cup looks a bit misshapen, so I'll go in and fix the lines and just go in and refine any imperfections I see. I'll just finesse that wonky line there, try to get it looking smooth. And just a few more touches, and I'll call it done. That's that. Curious Cuppa is the first membership tier on my Patreon. I do hope you enjoyed this video. There will be more like it to come. Let's get a closer look at this painting we've watched for so long. Pretty snazzy. I'm Kelly of Gray's Posy. I thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you soon.